From KPRC2, this is Houston Newsmakers with Cambrell Marshall.
And good morning and welcome to this KPRC2 Plus streaming edition of Houston Newsmakers, which is airing on our streaming platform only because the Ryder golf coverage is preempting all of our regular programs. Today you'll see interviews that have been a part of our Newsmakers Extra series, which has only been seen on our clicktohouston.com website. The first will be former Harris County Judge Ed Emmett, a continuation of our conversation last week about the problems with our democracy, the challenge of fixing it, and his thoughts about the health problems of current County Judge Lina Hidalgo. Could you see yourself running in the environment that politics is now shrouded in? I say shrouded, it may not be the right word.
It would be difficult as a newcomer now. If you already have a reputation and experience, then depending on and I'm not. Let me be clear. I'm out of politics. I'm very happy at the Baker Institute, so don't take this the wrong way. But you know, if I ran for a position like I had before, people said, "Oh, well, you remember him? He did this, that, and the other." You could do that. But as a new person getting into a primary in either party, no, because I think I'm much more moderate than either primary. And
you're much more moderate than your party would allow in your primary, because it seems like everyone who wants to win in the Republican Party runs as far to the right as they can in the primary. And right. The far right that's there now was nowhere close to this far right when you were running.
No, and the same's true on the Democratic side. You know, they've run to the far left. I mean, think about this. We live in a world where Bernie Sanders is an announced socialist, and he has a huge following in the Democratic Party. We have some local elected officials that, you know, you go to the Communist Party website and they're on there. You go, wow, really? What have we come to? But that's the world we live in. I am hopeful, though. I really am, that maybe a generation from now, people are going to look up and say, you know, we got problems we got to solve. Let's get back to solving those problems.
We have millions of people who are right now saying they're ready to vote for someone who's under indictment. Not once, not twice, not three times, but four times. That seems rather irrational on the face of things. But for some reason right now, it's possible.
I think too many people now view law enforcement, the criminal justice system, as being weaponized, is the term that they've started using on both sides of the spectrum. But right now it is more toward the Republican side, granted, particularly with former President Trump. We'll have to see how those all play out. And the impeachment process, you know, impeachments didn't occur for 100 years. And now suddenly President Clinton's impeached. As soon as President Trump was elected the first time, our local Congressman Al Green said we need to impeach him before he'd even taken office. Well, turns out that he did get impeached, got impeached twice. And now already the Republicans say, well, you impeach our guy, we're going to impeach your guy. It's got to stop. There's got to be a point where you disagree with people, but it doesn't become a big legal issue or impeachment issue. So,
having said that, we talked on the program about some of the silos that people are in. How does that stop if you have people who are firmly entrenched in silos that are the ones that they feel comfortable in, and they really don't believe anything outside of that? Talk a little bit about the assignment that you signed your class to do.
Well, I was teaching a class at Rice, very smart young people, on social policy. And so I assigned them each a news outlet to follow, not to say what was said particularly, but which stories did they cover. And it went all the way from Newsmax, Al Jazeera, MSNBC, CNN, and when they came back and said, here are the 3 top stories that were covered, it was like they were on different planets. It's not even the way the news media has been covering it. It's even what they choose to cover. And those, you know, we grew up in an era where you watched the nightly news, everybody saw the same thing, you'd have a difference of opinion over what it was. But now you don't even, you get to pick and choose which stories you watch. And so it just reinforces whatever your biases are.
Some of the onus is on the quote media, because people who are masquerading as journalists who are supposedly going to be balanced in their coverage aren't. Right. And the viewers don't know sometimes when they watch a cable pontificator who they think, well, it's a journalist. Well, not really. Local TV does a pretty good job of being objective in the coverage, I believe. But the challenge sometimes is we have people within our own business, and this is Cambrell editorializing a little bit. And I teach our interns at the station as well. I teach them about the last word I ever want to hear out of their mouth is, I think. Because the viewer doesn't care what you think. They want information. And sometimes that's kind of blurred in the process, so people really don't know for sure who's telling the truth. And as long as you have machinery that can churn out reams and reams of information that may or may not be true, it skews the way people think, and it makes it more difficult for them to come to some sort of compromise.
And I think we will get there, but I'm like you, I'm an optimist, but it's going to take a little while. And I'll go ahead and say it won't get better until former President Trump leaves the stage. He has made both parties just set their hair on fire. And he's made the media. Why does he get the coverage he gets? I know why, but that in and of itself, there are other people running for president as Republicans. They're not getting the kind of coverage he gets. And so as a result, it just sort of reinforces his standing. So you realize what you just said would make it very impossible for you to get any positions within the Republican Party, right? I mean, the way the Republican Party is today. The way it is today, but again, not that you're planning on running. Right, no, I am not. But beyond that, if you go back to 2016, the way the primaries were structured, Trump didn't get 30% of the vote in many of the primaries. But the way it's structured, he got the delegates. That's the problem. If there had been some kind of a runoff system, if it had been, but remember there was, 16 candidates. And so, yeah, he was the best known. He was the one getting the most coverage. He had the message that appealed to his 25 to 30%. But I don't think that that's where the overall November Republican Party is. That may be where the March primary Republican Party is. So, Trump is not inclined to leave the stage anytime soon, and so we'll see what happens with that. I want to, before we go, Harris County Judge Lina Hidalgo took a leave of absence for depression and mental health, and I think it's interesting to note that through your life as a judge, Harris County Judge, you've been an advocate for mental health care and for everyone, including and especially those who might be having problems with the criminal justice system and just anybody. So your thoughts about what she's going through now and how the Commissioner's Court has been able to handle itself in her absence? Well, you know, from early on, I reckon mental health shouldn't be separated. It's a health issue, whether it's your kidney or your brain. I mean, it's a health issue. And so the fact that we still separate it creates a certain stigma. So the fact that she said, I'm sick, I need to go get care, that's fine. That's appropriate. As I pointed out before, the county, and I can say this with a smile as a former county works just fine without a county judge for most things. The commissioners run their precincts. They do the parks and the roads and the bridges, and the departments run the programs. The main role the county judge has, which didn't really come out much during the last campaign, is emergency management. And as long as we don't have a hurricane, but her original letter said she could come back if she had to, then you know, I think she's doing the right thing, going off and getting treatment for an illness, just like any other illness.